Hey, welcome to video 2. In the last video, we spoke about some of the important concepts when it comes to arousal control. And in this video, we're going to talk about the nitty-gritty, what you can do with your body to start cultivating arousal and ground the sensation. Because one of the big questions I get every time is, won't I get blue balls? It's a big fear a lot of people have when it comes to delaying their ejaculation. And the quick answer is no, you won't get blue balls if you follow the techniques that I share. Because if there's one thing I want you to understand in this video, is that your ability, your capacity for handling sensation in your body directly correlates to how much you can hold in your life. In this video, we're going to go over a simple way to conceptualize your capacity for sensation. We're going to cover the mental aspect of capacity, how arousal affects your thoughts and your mood. And of course, we're going to go over a specific technique that you can try tonight, either by yourself or with a partner, to start increasing your capacity for sensation. So first, how do you understand capacity for sensation? I like to imagine it as a balloon. The balloon is your capacity for how much sensation, how much arousal you can hold in your body, and air is the arousal. So as you start to feel more and more, this balloon fills up, and at a certain point it reaches somewhere close to its limit. The rubber becomes very taut, it's under actual tension, and if the balloon had feelings, it would feel uncomfortable at this point. So if you're close to your capacity and you're feeling this discomfort, there are 3 ways that you can reduce your discomfort. 3 options you have. The first would be to pop the balloon. That would be ejaculation, that would be a dramatic outburst, that would be something to empty out all the sensation in an explosive way. This works because you no longer feel discomfort afterwards, but you also have no more balloon. In sex, you have a refractory period where you no longer can feel sensation until that balloon grows back, to use our analogy. After an angry outburst, maybe you've destroyed something, maybe you've harmed a communication or a relationship. It's not always the best way to go about it. The second way that you can reduce your discomfort is to let some air out of the balloon. So this would be like numbing out a little bit, watching too much television, eating too much junk food, some sort of consumption that reduces the sensation that you feel, which is what most people do most of the time because most people don't want to feel arousal, at least not too much. But there's a third option that's the healthiest option, that's the most useful option, and that would be to make the balloon bigger. So this is where our analogy falls apart because you can't actually make a balloon bigger, but this is the concept we want to use of increasing our ability to hold sensation. Most people think that they only have however much they can hold, but you can actually feel a lot more sensation without having that discomfort. Here's a non-sexual example you can probably relate to. If you've ever spoken in front of a group, you probably have felt some version of public speaking anxiety, some sort of involuntary sensation or arousal that we usually call nervousness. So you know what a nervous public speaker looks like. Maybe you've been one yourself. The person shakes, maybe their hands shake, their voice shakes, they feel really tense, like they can't get their emotions out in a normal way. And one way to look at that is that person has a really small capacity for sensation. Whereas a comfortable speaker has a big capacity. They can emote, they can feel all the feelings that the nervous speaker's feeling, but they have more space for those feelings to come out. So it shows up in their face as emotion, or their voice as tonality, or maybe hand gestures. I'm maybe gesturing a little too much right now, but you get the idea, right? When we have a large capacity for sensation, we can express it in a healthy way, as opposed to bottling up where it comes out as this weird, awkward nervousness. Same thing in the bedroom, and same thing as everywhere else in life. The skill of making your balloon bigger, we call grounding. So our practical definition of grounding is increasing your capacity big enough that you can stabilize your feelings, whether positive feelings or negative feelings. And we associate this with power, especially when it comes to men. There's 2 physical things you can look out for when it comes to grounding and making sure that you're grounded. The first is easy breathing. So right now, while you're watching this video, start paying attention to your breath. You can't be aware of your breath and not be present in this moment. Usually when we start daydreaming or when we're on our phones or worrying about stuff, that's when our breath tightens, that's when our body contorts, and that's when we are no longer here in our body and in this moment. It affects your sex, it affects your relationships, it affects your peace of mind. So right now, for the rest of this video, try to pay attention to your breath. There are a lot of breathing techniques. Some of them are complicated. They don't matter. Just breathe easily and deeply. Breathe into your belly, don't strain too much, and that's good enough. That's actually great. The second physical element of grounding is relaxing your muscles. Now this is a lot harder, especially if you have chronic tension. You're not going to magically relax all your muscles right now while watching this video, but I will offer you a life hack to try right now. And that is to notice the feeling of gravity. Notice your weight. Notice your butt in the chair, your feet on the ground, whatever position you're in, feel gravity pull on your body. If you really notice this, especially the pull of gravity on your bones, it'll encourage your body to relax those muscles that really don't need to be tense right now. I want to recall an important point from the first video, which is you need a surplus of energy to create. Anything you want to do, be, or have in this world when it comes to health, wealth, or relationships requires excess energy. So anything that reduces your energy, anything that reduces your capacity for sensation is against your intentions. It's a compulsive behavior. It's not something you actually want to keep doing. So compulsions are normal. Everybody has them. But the thing to understand is that all compulsive behavior, all addictive behavior is an addiction to mediocrity. It's something keeping you small. It's something keeping you away from all the grand intentions that you have. For many guys, ejaculation is a major compulsion. But I want to break down what is actually the thing you're addicted to. It's natural to assume that what you're addicted to is the orgasm, that 3 to 5 second burst of pleasure. But when you look at it closer, that's usually not the thing. The thing that's more compelling is the feeling afterwards, that feeling of relief. After orgasm, you no longer have to feel all that sexual tension, because sexual tension is uncomfortable, just like responsibility is uncomfortable, and power is uncomfortable, and attention is uncomfortable, and intimacy is uncomfortable. But as we discussed, to have more in your life, you have to be able to handle more tension. So that's where cultivating the skill of grounding comes in, because we want to specifically retrain your reward system. If you have a compulsion for ejaculation, or really this applies to anything, to reduce your sensation, we want to find something that feels better so you don't have to use your willpower to fight against your desire for pleasure. Because you have limited willpower. Everybody does. So instead of using your willpower to fight against your compulsion, we want to give you an opportunity to feel good in grounding as opposed to only feeling good from relief. There are many advanced techniques for grounding arousal, like the microcosmic orbit in Taoism and various forms in Kundalini Yoga and Tantra, but I want to keep it super simple so that you're less in your head and more in your body. Here are the techniques you could try tonight to expand your arousal capacity. There's a physical component, a mental component, and a grounding component that's super important. A few guidelines. The first, absolutely no pornography while you do this. I don't care if that's easy for you, if you're a full-blown porn addict, no porn, no porn, no porn. It doesn't matter if you can't get hard, it doesn't matter if you don't get a certain result, just don't do this without porn. You can use your imagination, you can use whatever else, just no porn. Secondly, get aroused any other way you want. I'm not going to tell you how to pleasure yourself. You can do this by yourself or with a partner, just no porn. And what you're going to look for is your own arousal. I'm not going to tell you how long to do this. You have to decide on your own, because the third guideline is you want to do this entire exercise at least once without ejaculating. That could mean you stop after a minute. It could mean you wait a little bit longer, and when you feel like you're going to get close to coming, you stop then. I'm not going to tell you when. Just make sure you do at least one round without coming. Give yourself the opportunity to enjoy the feeling of grounding. If you absolutely can't move on with your life, if you don't come, if you can't fall asleep at night, you can come later, but go through this entire cycle, do one round, giving yourself the opportunity to enjoy the feeling of retaining that arousal as opposed to emptying it all out. The physical component of this exercise is pretty simple. It all has to do with your PC muscle or pubococcygeus muscle. If you don't know where that is, if you've ever peed and then decided to stop peeing midstream, the muscle that you squeezed is the PC muscle. Also, if you've had an erection and you've moved that erection up and down without using your hands, that muscle was the PC muscle. Finally, if you had an ejaculation, which I'm sure you've had, the muscle that makes your penis contract and shoots out the ejaculate is your PC muscle. So you've used it before, you know where it is. The way we're going to use it is two ways. The first is the PC hold. If at any time you feel your arousal is getting too high and you're coming close to ejaculating, you can always squeeze that muscle and it'll stop the spike in arousal. The second is pumping that muscle. So you can squeeze that muscle and yes, it'll move your penis up and down, but you can also combine it with the second component, the mental component, to pump the arousal into your body. The mental aspect of this exercise can seem a little abstract. It can seem like explaining color to a blind man to some people. But if you've ever had the experience of chills up your spine or your face getting flushed, you already know what it's like to have arousal move in your body. We just want to do this intentionally. So the way we're doing this with arousal is when you have an erection, imagining this is your erect penis, you feel the sensation, obviously, when you're hard, you're feeling pleasurable sensation, tingles, whatever it is, in your cock. You want to use your mind and also the PC pumping to bring that arousal into your body. So if this is the part of your penis that's outside of your body, if you didn't know, your penis actually goes into your body a few inches. When you get an erection, you can feel behind your balls that there's actually more penis tissue that gets erect, and it goes about 3 inches into your body. So you can use your mind and the PC pumping to move that arousal sensation into the back part of your penis, your undercock. From there, you can use your mind and the squeezing to bring it as far back as you can, past your anus, into your tailbone, and imagining it going up your sacrum and up your spine as far as it can go. You might feel all the way up your spine, you might only feel up to your tailbone. Whatever it is fine. Because what we're doing here is using the mind to literally make the physical capacity for arousal bigger. Because if it's all stuck in just the external part of your cock, once that area is full, once it's saturated with arousal, you're going to come, you're going to have to discharge. But if you can make that capacity a little bit bigger up to your spine, you'll have way more space to feel that arousal, and you'll have less of an urge to come. Something that'll help you feel is syncing the breath. So you can imagine that every time you breathe in, you're pulling that arousal in. Syncing it with the breath makes it easier to feel, especially as you get into the spine area. The final piece of the mental aspect is to smile. This might seem super goofy to do with an erection, like why are you smiling? But there's a few really important reasons why we're going to do this. The first is that you might have some stress conditioning associated with masturbation, especially if you started jerking off at a young age and you were afraid of getting caught and you had a bunch of shame. You might have a cortisol release response associated with masturbation. And we want to inhibit that. We want to encourage parasympathetic nervous system dominance, and smiling encourages that. The second reason is that these feelings are going to want to go somewhere. Instead of the compulsion to ejaculate, if you can express the feelings you're feeling as emotional expression, it'll be a lot easier to not feel the urge to come. Because your feelings have to go somewhere, and we're going to go into how this relates to self-expression in the next video, in video 3. But by smiling, you're transmuting or transforming your sensation of arousal into emotion, and it just gives it more capacity and more space to express itself as opposed to having to come out as ejaculation. The final part of this exercise is the absolutely most important part. Even if you didn't feel your PC muscle or the mental stuff didn't make sense to you, if you've gotten up to this point and you haven't ejaculated and you can do this final piece, you will have succeeded in the exercise. It's called grounding, just like everything we've been speaking about in this video. Once you feel like you've reached an appropriate level of arousal, and that could again be after 1 minute or maybe a minute before you lose control and feel like you need to ejaculate, you stop. Tell your partner to stop if you're with the partner, stop touching yourself if you're by yourself, and you're going to do a grounding exercise. You're going to breathe deeply, pulling the arousal into your body as best as you can, and noticing the weight of gravity. And you're going to keep on doing this until your erection goes away, until you've pulled all of that arousal into your body, and ideally you feel something maybe in your tailbone or your sacrum or your spine, maybe all the way up to the top of your head. Once your erection is gone, you're going to put your hands on your lower belly, and you're going to imagine that same arousal moving into your lower belly. You can do this for 10 minutes. You can do it for 20 minutes. Treat it like a meditation. You want to imagine all of that arousal, that urge to ejaculate is now settling inside of your body, and it can be grounded and stable. If you can do this, you'll probably find that you don't have the huge urge to ejaculate that you thought you had before, but you still have maintained that feeling of aliveness that you generated during the arousal portion. Quick recap, you have a capacity for sensation. Secondly, that capacity affects how much arousal you can hold in your body and how much you can handle in life. Finally, you have an exercise you can try tonight to expand your capacity for arousal. You may have questions come up, you may have realizations when you try the exercise, you may have some comments or concerns. Take advantage of the Facebook group. That's what it's there for. You can share experiences with other students, ask me questions, share your experience and take advantage of this free resource. And I will see you in tomorrow's video.